And the way Patrick Swayze plays this guy, one, you know it's Patrick Swayze, but the mood changes. Like, he has such a fun presence in this movie that
have you ever seen, and I know we talked about this, you've watched Urban Cowboy all the way through, right?
Yes, at least twice, yeah.
Okay. Whenever I watch Roadhouse or Urban Cowboy, now there are two intros to a character that absolutely go down as my favorite, and these are in the top for me, is Dalton's introduction and Travolta's introduction. After he shaves, and it's kind of in Urban Cowboy, after he shaves and he's at the bar, he's at Gillies, and it's kind of that pan up, and it shows him fresh shaven, and he's into the music too. He's just leaning against the bar with his cowboy hat on, and it's like the epitome of like how I would like to be introduced every time I meet somebody new.
Yeah. They have to follow the same path as a camera and like slowly climb up your body with their eyes as you just aggressively break your neck to these fucking 80s club bands.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot, like, just a lot in every scene. And of course, me and Marcus are going to have the scenes that we love, and we're not going to do a breakdown of the film because that's not what we do. But I would love to hear from you, bbkaratepodcast@gmail.com. What's your favorite, like, Roadhouse moments? I mean, there's so many. And as I watch this, I got new ones, like, especially just paying attention to little things that I was like, everyone knows what happens. What can I pull away from this that maybe people haven't touched on? Because if you have a podcast, like Marcus said, about action movies or movies in general, you're going to talk about Roadhouse.
Yeah.
And certainly there are a few. Hang on. What was the one? I had a piece from this that I wanted to talk about. Do you have something?
Oh, I can always bring something up. Yeah. What do you?
Yeah,
what did you have?
I'm trying to remember. It was this. It'll come to me. Let's just come back in with you, and I'll start talking about little moments, and you can talk about something.
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So there's all these great little moments that as I watched, I was able to take away. Did you catch anything new, or were there just moments you saw that you were like, fuck, this movie's amazing?
Sticking with the first 10 minutes of this movie.
Yes.
Tillman and Dalton talking. I forget, like, watching this movie, how just everything is summed up between this meeting before them, and everything is laid out in this subtle conversation that they have, not just about Tillman proposing to Dalton what he wants and the vision that he has and wanting to bring him on, but also just, you get everything that is going to be callbacks for the movie. You get Wade Garrett's the best, and it's just like, oh, who the fuck is Wade Garrett? Like, if this is seeing this movie for the first time, like, who is Wade Garrett going to be in this, and what can he bring to the table? But it's also just Dalton talking the first comment of, I thought you'd be bigger, and it's such it's one of the main lines of Roadhouse, but and it carries forward throughout the whole thing. I think we get it probably 6 times, as far as the joke goes. But it's Tillman's way of saying it initially that seems so conversational, and the way that he is. I forget, like, how much of a good guy Tillman is. Like, you initially see this and you think Tillman, if you haven't seen Roadhouse before, you could think Tillman's going to be the bad guy. Like, he has that bad vibe, but in the long run, he's just this. His character is done so well, and as an actor, he does it so well too, that it's just this, you don't know which way this is going with him kind of thing, and if Dalton should trust him or not. But all of this information is laid out to where all these callbacks are coming into place, and also this questionable Wade Garrett, and you have the cooler line as well, and it's so many things about the world that we're in that you're getting in 2 minutes of conversation with these two.
Completely agree. One thing that stuck out to me this time that I never really questioned was where he says, "I've recently come into some money." What happened? he apparently comes into a shit ton of money because he's willing to pay Dalton without any negotiation $5,000 up front, $500 a night, and he's bought him a plane ticket. He's brought a paper plane ticket.
He's bought a paper plane ticket.
What do you think? Do you think it's inheritance? I was trying to see if I could maybe tie it to Brad Wesley somehow. Like, I don't think so, though, because he's very anti-Wesley.
Yeah, but still in that same vein, like thinking about it, like Tillman still has to be paying taxes to Brad Wesley under the Jasper Improvement Fund. But
right.
But it's just like, I did think about, like, you hear that line, and I obviously didn't take it into as much consideration as you did, but I just figure, okay, I think of this guy as a property flipper. Like he knows he's a land guy. I
like it.
He knows how to buy land. He knows how to flip land or whatever he's doing with it, and that's how he came about.
I dig that a lot. I think he obviously owns the Double Deuce. Now, how long has he owned the Double Deuce? Do we think? I'm just thinking hypotheticals here because it's not really touched upon. He says, "I got a club, and it's a real piece of shit. The club is."
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how long he's owned it, and did he own it for a long time, then came into the money, and he's like, well, now's the time.
No, I take it as he came into the money, he bought the Double Deuce, and now he's immediately going into cleaning it up. Yeah.
And you start at the bar. Everything begins and ends at a bar with the bar.
Right.
And so he goes, this scene is a lot like, you talked about favorite entrances in movies. One of mine is Dirk Diggler's character in Boogie Nights, in that long one-shot scene. This is kind of like, it starts the way Burt Reynolds first introduces himself to Dirk Diggler. It's kind of like this old guy with his turquoise bolo is going to ask Swayze to jerk it for him real quick.
I can see
talk to you
that.
for a moment? Yeah.
No,
but and so he's like, I drive, and he drives. And you get to see, once again, like you said, loving the elderly, loves the downtrodden, gives his car away to this B.B. King-like homeless man. And
what I look like, Valet?
That's really good. The parking garage where the Mercedes was held is actually where Axel Foley's Porsche is held.
I did not know that.
Which is a fun random fact. So he drives a Mercedes, and this is also leaving little questions, like, why does he drive a Mercedes? Why did he give his car away? And why is this one here? I don't know. It sets it up great. And
I will say, too, that the one thing that Dalton and I have in common is our fear of flying because it's too dangerous.
That's right.
Yeah.
Marcus does not like to fly. He helped me move out to the West and flew back, and that's the only time I've ever known him to fly in our entire relationship. So, and that's the intro. Once again, really fun, like random lines, and then we get it. More random lines, just like when he arrives at the Double Deuce, pulls up in his Mercedes, and he's like, "What's wrong with Detroit cars?"
Yeah. I think what's great too is that we see the traveling to Kansas City. Dalton has a tape that he must play every time that it seems that
that tape.
He is going to a new location. Yeah, he has to put in that tape, and it's just that, that tape deck's not broken. That's a sweet Beamer tape deck.
Oh my god.
And it just clicks in, and he's ready to, it's on. It's got to be a single. It's probably not the whole when you could buy singles tapes for $1.99.
Yeah. Oh man. What do you think? Where is this first club? Not the legitimate, but in the story, where is it?
I don't know if they ever say in the story, but I see it as a California place. See it as a California place. Yeah.
Yeah. It's far enough to where Tillman's flown there, and he's bought him a plane ticket.
Right.
To where it must be absurd to think that one would drive if they didn't have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think maybe California, West Coast. Or even upper, like New York City style.
Sure.
East Coast. It doesn't really strike me as New York City.
Yeah.
I bet you're right. I bet it's West Coast.
It feels like a West Coast club to me.
Yeah. And then they, and then he drives with his tape deck all the way to Jasper, Missouri.
Yeah. And I keep on saying Kansas City for some reason, and my apologies.
Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah, I mean Kansas City, Jasper. But
Right.
but going into what you're saying, his initial stop at the Double Deuce, and just the bikers that are there,
Yeah.
and it's this quick. Once they say, the Detroit line, and he's out of the car. What's the matter with Detroit muscle or Detroit build? And he
Are you talking about the look he gives him?
Yeah, that Benny the Jet look, and then they're like, okay, we're cool, kind of thing.
Yeah. Don't they back the fuck off real quick?
Yeah, they do.
And I don't.
They do.
And it's not like they know who he is. I guess he just has that look about him. It's so wild to see.
It's that flip of the jacket and the flick of the cigarette that he does that turn him off. Like if somebody, if I'm giving lip and I see somebody with those moves that smooth, like
I love the idea, Marcus, of you sitting by your Equinox, like ragging on people pulling into your apartment complex, crushing Tecate cans on your head, and this bar, the dancing in this movie, the background dancers and stuff are a sight to see. But maybe my favorite background dancer is the shirtless guy in the bootcut jeans who's sort of doing like this, like he's hypnotized, sort of gyrating movements the whole time he's dancing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah. Like there in front of the chicken wire band and everything right there. Yeah.
And you know what? This place is mean because they are booing the shit and throwing glass bottles at this blind man. And they know he's blind.
They know he's blind.
And they go to take a break. God knows how long they've been playing. And what sucks is they've been playing and they're playing and they sound badass. And everyone's like, you suck. You pieces of shit. Stop playing. And then they're like, all right, we're going to go take a break. And they're like, well, you're paid to play. And they immediately are like, don't stop playing, you fuck. And they throw a glass bottle at this blind man and laugh about it.
And Jeff Healy's like Cody the character, like that look that he gives, like, oh fuck, another bottle, like God, just
it really is sad. And it's great. So, in a world of bar, Dalton's name has traveled the world, or at least the States, and I find that fascinating. Like I know most movies are going to be made within the world they inhabit, so therefore, in a world of bars, the bar bouncer is going to be well known. No one's going to know the name Dalton if you go to a Staples, But in a bar, you go, they're like, shit, Dalton?
Yeah.
And everyone knows Dalton, and you get to meet this cast of characters. He gets to see how it's run. Legendary professional wrestler Terry Funk is in this movie. He also is in Over the Top. He's in... he actually put Hulk Hogan in contact with Sylvester Stallone for Rocky III. So Terry Funk, he started doing movies because he was like, what a great way to get health insurance because I don't have it as a wrestler. So there you go.
And he has some good lines in this too. He
does.
He does a great job of just being this asshole baddie. And his initial conversation with Dalton, just Dalton finds a post against the bar to kind of observe the room, and it's his eagle's nest in any bar. He finds that corner and he can scan a 360 of what's going on. He can get a lay of the land, and he doesn't drink. We find out, immediately that he wants coffee, and it's, Terry Funk just giving him this, what does he say? Either drink or, if you don't start drinking, you got to get out.
Yeah.
Kind of line. And,
so that line comes after the guy's like, what do you say? We get nipple to nipple.
Nipple to nipple.
And then she says, I can do that without you.
Yeah.
Does she? That's saying something.
That is.
Julie
Michaels, who was only, 18, 19 at the time, too?
And apparently has become like a pretty legendary, monumental female stunt worker in the business.
Yeah. Her and her husband, they co-coordinate, not to take away from it, but... No, like the kind of trajectory that careers have had. She's Emmy nominated for SEAL Team. Her and her husband are stunt coordinators on the TV show SEAL Team.
Female lead stunt coordinator to be nominated for an Emmy. So good for her, man.
Yeah.
But
this is her first big role.
Yeah, it must have been. I always thought she was pretty pretty fucking hot, especially that white dress she's wearing.
Oh man,
that's sort of held together with elastic on the sides.
Yeah.
My God, I don't necessarily find the '80s stuff